Steve Earle is a singer and songwriter who came out of Texas in the 1970s during the heyday of outlaw country music, featuring artists like Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings.
That outlaw country label never really fit Steve Earle, though. He's always been his own man.
For my time, but I've been told you never come back from Copperhead Road. In a big black Dodge, bought it at an auction at the Mason's Lodge. Shots of cannon, sheriff painted.
Steve Earle never got really famous, and he never sold millions of records.
He is, however, considered a songwriter's songwriter, one with an encyclopedic knowledge of country, rock, folk, and Americana, whose songs have been recorded by the likes of Johnny Cash, Emmylou Harris, and of course many more.
We talked with Steve Earle at the State Theater in Portland, where he was performing with his band, the Dukes. What is your first musical memory?
Elvis, period. It was all about Elvis until the Beatles came along. And there was other stuff. There were country artists that in where I lived, that were important. So Johnny Cash was always a big deal.
Who was it who you watched who made you think, I want to be that person, I want to be a musician?
Wow, I wanted to be a musician, Elvis, Yeah, it was that early. I mean, I kind of wanted to be an astronaut for a minute and Harry Houdini for a minute, but I wanted to be Elvis more, so.
I understand that you were in a talent contest at age 13. Was that something of a milestone for you?
It was, because it was the biggest audience I'd played for up to that point.
What'd you play?
As Tears Go By.
I sit and watch as tears go by.
I gravitated towards Beatles and Stones and Kinks and songs like that had acoustic guitars on them, because I didn't have an electric guitar, so that kind of kept folk music and country music in the mix for me in a way that it probably wouldn't have been otherwise if my dad would have let me have an electric guitar.
You dropped out of high school when you were 16?
Yeah.
Was that because you knew that you really wanted to pursue music, or was that because you just couldn't stay in school anymore?
It was all of the above. I wasn't making very good grades, and I hadn't been making very good grades since 6th grade. And then I got really unlucky with English, which is heartbreaking when you consider what I do for a living. I got 3 football coaches in a row as English teachers. It's Texas, so they have to fill out those guys' schedules with something, and that's tragic. That shouldn't be allowed to happen, but it does. It still happens.
They didn't have much of a sense of poetry?
Oh, they hated me. They did. It was that, and plus the fact that I was publishing an underground newspaper. I was in trouble a lot for, collecting money to put sugar in the gas tanks of all the moving equipment that we're getting ready to build. An overpass over the Sunken Gardens Theater, which was our favorite concert venue when I was growing up.
Steve Earle also soaked up what he saw on television. One of his favorite programs in the 1960s, a variety show hosted by a giant of country music.
Remember me, you one who lives there. For she once was a true love of mine.
68, Johnny Cash has got a television show, and it's the only place you could see Bob Dylan on television. It's the only place I ever saw him on television. And Neil Young was there. Derek and the Dominoes were on there.
Derek and the Dominoes.
It was kind of mind-blowing, and then a lot of big country acts too. And all that music goes together. I mean, I finally figured out, it took me years to figure out why, but the Beatles were the Beatles partially because they were from Liverpool and not from London, and they got more country music than the Stones did. The Stones became a blues band. It's funny because they were the art school kids, they were the upper middle class kids, and the Beatles were the working class band.
If you're gonna write songs, it helps you got to have the material. It helps to have had the material in your own life. You've had a life that has been filled with peaks and valleys, probably more than your share of valleys. Has it made you a better writer?
I don't know what makes you a better writer. I think you're born to be a writer or you're not. I think what makes you a better writer is writing and reading. It's not important that you suffer for art. What's important is that if you're suffering, that's in your art. You should. I wouldn't waste that material. But there have been really happy people that made really effective art. I'm actually one of them. I've been mostly pretty happy. In spite of everything, I'm considered by most people that know me to be an optimist, I think.
When you started out, you wanted to be an outlaw country musician, right?
So I just wanted to be. I started out playing coffee houses because everything's by default when it gets right down. I just wanted to make music. I didn't. My dad wouldn't let me have an electric guitar, so I started listening to more acoustic kind of forms of rock and roll, which led me to kind of hardcore folk music. And I was too young to play places that served liquor, so I started hanging out in coffee houses. And because of that, if you were in coffee houses in Texas, you immediately found out who Townes Van Zandt was.
Townes Van Zandt was a brilliant but troubled wordsmith.
Well, the poets tell how Pancho fell, left his living in a cheap hotel.
Revered by a generation of songwriters, some of whom provided inspiration to others.
And the rest of us are post-Bob Dylan songwriters, and the reason that we went to Nashville rather than going to LA or New York is because of Chris Christopherson. Not any doubt about that, because it proved to us that there was a place for somebody that songwriting that was literature.
How long does it typically take you to write a song?
Well, it can be anything from literally everything from 30 minutes to weeks, years sometimes.
And do you know pretty quickly how good you think it is? Do you immediately, when you're done, can you say, that's an A, that's a B, that's only a C?
The C's don't get finished. The B's don't very often. You got to make a whole album, so B's get finished, but C's don't.
I would love to take a class with Steve Earle as the professor. The course would be American popular music from 1955 to 2000 or something like that. He would be amazing.
Yeah, he seems really full of information.
He knows it all. And our conversation with Steve Earle will continue tomorrow on 207.